Hello, thank you for joining. Today we have some local insights to our Boulder County market. This is for October of 2021. Anthony, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Absolutely. So we are Tucker and Anthony with Land Title, as you know, your very favorite title reps, and we are just going to give you some really good insights as to what's going on in the lender market across Boulder County. So in Boulder County, we have a kind of decrease going into the fall in inventory levels. We see this every year. Inventory has been really, really low, but we're still getting that same seasonal trend like we have before. The only difference being that buyers have been really, really active, as I'm sure you well know, that we basically are eroding at that inventory that would come on the market much faster than it's available. So what you can see here is if we switch over to our active units, this is the active analysis for just active units, but we can look by city. You can see that half of the active units taking place are in the city of Boulder. So we have a real problem going out into the county, right? Because in the county there's this huge shortage, which is leading to not enough sales taking place to meet up with that buyer demand.
Exactly. And so as we're taking a look at the month supply of inventory, perfect. So as we're taking a look at this month supply of inventory, we're seeing that we're actually not following the traditional seasonal trend of really picking up that inventory and having it build up, so we have a little bit of a surplus entering into that busy spring season. As we can see, we're sitting at 0.76, so we're still less than a month of inventory, and this is for October, which is really strong buyer demand, which is a good sign that hopefully that demand will continue through, especially into next year when we start seeing those rates ticking up a little bit. Hopefully those people are qualified enough to be still in the market and going after the homes that they wish to get.
If we look over here at the month supply, or the days on market, I'm sorry, the days on market really tell us how fast are buyers purchasing homes, right, versus what's coming on the market. And in the summer we see the lowest numbers we'll see in the whole year, but these really aren't ticking up like we would expect. In a normal market, you would see this increase all the way through December. Now, what we expect is more of like what we saw last year, where it's kind of a plateau through the year because you just have so many buyers looking with not enough inventory in the market. And of course, things are moving even faster than they were in 2020. So that 51.5 days on market really, as a county, may not be the best representation, because if you look down at the city levels, you can really see some of these things still moving, active to sold in 32.5 days like Erie. So yeah, there's a lot going on there.
That's exactly right. And as you really can tell, if you look at Louisville and Superior, they have some newer products that have been hitting the market and some new homes, new builds. And so I think that's a part of why you're seeing that higher days on market right there, is those new builds are just getting them priced right and the market's just adjusting to those. But really, if you look at it, look at the areas like Longmont, Erie, even Boulder to an extent, not as much, but they have a lot lower days on market, and that's because of the price point. So we're going to continue to see a lot of competition and a lot of really tough offers and tough situations for buyers on those lower price points. And by saying lower, we're talking that 500, 600, 700,000 range. We're going to see a lot more competition amongst those buyers.
So speaking of price point, let's actually talk about price point. That would make the most sense, right?
I like it.
First thing that I think is worth pointing out here is the luxury market is just booming, right? And it has been all year, but it's getting to the point where now we have 13 sales over 3 million in October. I mean, these numbers are unheard of. They have been for a long time now, and it's really tough to gauge where that market's going to be, because things are moving so fast in the luxury market, and there's so many more sales than we've seen in years past. That's really artificially inflating some of those average sales price numbers. But at the same time, like Tucker said, those lower price points are just suffering so bad because of lack of inventory. One part of it, people aren't really building that product type. The other part of it is we have a lot of out-of-state demand, as I'm sure you're feeling, coming into the Boulder area. So the active units are all falling by 60% or so, and then there's a lot of new listings coming on, and they have been all year in those luxury price points. So the luxury price range has kind of kept up a little bit more, obviously not nearly enough. Now, if you look over here at our month supply of inventory and our days on market by price point, you can really see just how little inventory is on the market.
And remember, we kind of recommend, that 6 to 8 months is balanced for that luxury market, 1.5, 2 million plus. And you can see we're not even at four months of active inventory. So it's really just showing how fast the market's moving, and the luxury side, along with the rest of the market, We're looking down at those lower, I'm saying lower, 1.5 million and below. So take that with a grain of salt in Boulder County. But we're at less than a month of inventory, which, this time of year we should be seeing, even with the summer we had, we should be seeing, 1 to 2 months of inventory kind of stocking back up. So we're going to see another really busy season for next year. So for those buyers asking you questions, hey, is now a good time to buy? Yes, it is. It's only going to get harder next year. And as you know, those rates will probably tick up a little bit. And as they tick up, buyers lose their purchasing power, and especially in these competitive markets. You can lose a lot of that.
Yeah, and you can see over here on the days on market side, you can see the seasonal shift. So this is a really good opportunity for buyers. Those days on market are starting to rise across all price points. Even if it is slightly, that's a good window of opportunity that they're not really going to get in the springtime. It seems like about January, February timeframe, it's going to be off to the races again, hard and fast come spring. So this is their window as a buyer to really get something under contract. I think that's probably one of the most important things to reiterate to your clients.
And there's also something I wanted to mention that's separate from the data. If you have a client that's going to be using all cash to buy and then do delayed financing after they close and do a cash out to kind of replenish their stock or their stockpile of cash, we have a great product so that they can get much cheaper rates, like it would be a congruent rate, like if they were buying at the same time. So just let us know if your client's going to be doing that. Have them let us know, and they can get a nice discount on the title premium going forward as well. So
that's a great point. It does save them quite a bit of money.
Yep.
Which is great. The average price point here, if we're talking about average sales price in Boulder County right now, we're seeing across all these markets this rising over the course of the last year, somewhere in that 15 to 20% range, right? It's skyrocketing. Now, NIWAT's not really showing that in the data, but realistically, if you took an analysis on the properties, they'd be seeing the same thing. NIWAT's one of those small markets where you just don't have a big enough sample size to reach that. And in Superior, we're showing even more than that. But a lot of what that is we're building a more expensive product type in Superior now. You're really pushing that single family home up to $1 million, and you're pushing, just kind of pushing the envelope because of its proximity to Boulder and Denver.
And they also have those new attached units out in Superior that are really nice and on that higher end as well. And if we go one more over to the attached and detached slides, you can see in Boulder we hit 1.6 million for a detached single family house. That is, it speaks volumes for itself. Louisville over 1 million. And you can see, as a whole, our whole county is really, really still seeing tons of appreciation over the last 2 to 3 years. And it's really being reflected in the prices we're seeing. And fortunately the comps are out there, so your appraisers have something to go off of. That's really the silver lining of these prices going up, is at least we have the comps now to support, these higher loan amounts and these higher prices.
Absolutely. If you look at it from even 2019 to current, we went from under 600,000 to now over 1 million for basically the same products. So it is definitely appreciating very fast and detached. If we go over to the attached market, you can also see here that it may not be appreciating as fast, but this is nothing to flinch at. We're talking 11% price appreciation in the Boulder County markets. The city of Boulder hasn't seen quite as much, and a lot of that was a little bit due to the COVID factor, right? Where people kind of ran away from the city centers. Mm-hmm. But look at Superior. They are really pushing the envelope with their attached product. And like Tucker said, they're building a very different product type, and you know that, but that 3,000 to 4,000 square foot attached product is something you don't really see anywhere else in the county. So it's not really comparing apples to apples when you look at it. Still, amazing investments here in the attached market, which means your buyers are probably sitting on quite a bit of equity, which really could put them in position to trade up if they want to. The last thing that we wanted to talk about is, not sold units. We're going to talk about one other thing, percentage sold price to list price. So Tucker, what's going on here?
So this is always one of my favorite slides to look at, and as we can see, it's still a competitive market, and your buyers still have to be putting in really strong offers. We're still hovering over 100% of the sold to list price. So that really is showing, those really strong offers, those great pre-approval letters, that phone call follow-up is still extremely helpful because it's still a competitive market. Because remember, this is after all the comps have been recorded in our record now, and we're still hitting 100% plus. So it's really showing those turnkey homes that are ready to go, not a lot of elbow grease, they're going for the premium. If you have a client that's a little bit, kind of pushing the envelope of what they can buy, there's a lot of opportunity for those elbow grease, little value add properties. There's still a lot of opportunity for them to get in and add a lot of value to themselves and a lot of equity through the sweat and effort that you can put forth. So that's a really big sign there is, that 100% is just insane. If we look historically back to 2019, which was, by all accounts, a hot year, a hot
year.
real estate year, we never even hit 100%. So it just shows how competitive this market's been, and it's probably going to continue to be this competitive even with, the rate increases coming over the next, 3 to 6 months.
Yep, and if we look into attached, it's the exact same situation. Very, very competitive, and the luxury products are flying off the shelf again, and they're becoming very ultra competitive in that price point. So just another thing to look out for. But use this data with your clients. Just reiterate just how important this fall market is. As a seller, this fall market is one of the best markets they've seen in years, even if they did miss the spring market. And as a buyer, it's so important to get in now before we get into that spring timeframe, because it's so much less competitive, even if it is so extreme. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you next time.
Take care.